Yeah, we definitely need them.
Oh, do we?
Yeah, we need those strategies. Those strategies for living. So are you ready? You're ready for your daily dose. Your daily dose of radio rehab.
I'm ready.
You ready?
I need it today.
Yeah, I think in some ways we all need it, you know? Hey, folks, welcome. Welcome into 101.7 FM and 710 Keel. Welcome into another edition of Strategies for Living. I'm Dr. David McMillan. She is psychotherapist, PLPC Lauren Leon McMillan. You know,
That's me.
that's you. That is you. Yeah.
I'm here.
I'm wondering today if, you know, we say, you know how we say feelings aren't good or bad. They're just feelings, right?
Absolutely. Right?
Now, emotions. Emotions are slightly different from feelings, right?
Right.
Because feelings are something physical,
Yes.
right? Emotions take those physical sensations, combine them with some thoughts, and that's kind of emotion, energy in motion, right?
Yes.
So I'm wondering,
Uh-huh.
you know, if when it comes to emotions, if there aren't a couple of useless emotions. Useless.
Useless,
Yeah. I'm going to explore
Depends on how-
with you
yeah.
today
Okay.
worry and guilt, because that's what I'm talking about.
Okay. And it depends to me, when just as you're throwing that out there at me, it would depend to me on how you're using the term useless, right? Because even habits, you know, we can have useless or quote unquote worthless habits, but that's just how we're judging them, how we're deeming them. Because if we continue to do them, they're clearly not useless to us, right?
Yeah.
Because we're using them in some way.
Okay, so...
Make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense, but, you know, what I want
They're
to...
not necessarily aimed in the direction that maybe we want to ultimately go, and that's where we run into issues.
Yeah,
I
because they
think.
drain our energy.
Yeah,
they drain
because-
our energy. They can also, this worry and guilt, they can cloud our judgment.
Yeah,
right?
well, right, and they're not necessarily in alignment with our values, perhaps, and that can cause even more rifts and rubbing.
So are they serving a productive purpose, or are they just simply just mental habits that keep us stuck in a cycle of either anxiety or a cycle of regret? So we're going to dive deeper today into worry and guilt, because some people do consider them useless emotions. I think you're making a good point.
Okay, yeah.
You know, maybe there's nothing that's totally useless, but we'll look at how they impact our lives and why they persist, and most importantly, because we're strategies
You know, it's funny,
for living.
even the word useless is not useless, right?
There you go again, getting deep on me, just making my mind go.
That's my job.
Yeah,
I feel
well.
like.
Are there useless emotions? Worry and guilt, do they fall into that? We're going to explore that today here on Strategies for Living. Appreciate you being with us, and we appreciate our sponsors making it possible. The Robinson Film Center, and Azalea Cleaners, and Learning RX, and Pintail Roofing, and the Balanced Life Wellness Center. So, come back with us. Are there useless emotions, worry, and guilt? We'll explore that today on Strategies. Dealing with stress, pain, feel like you're running out of options? When your life is balanced, wellness is a given. True wellness is holistic. It's about the mind, the body, and the spirit, all in balance. Now, there's a place right here in Shreveport that's all about helping us achieve peak mental, emotional, and physical health. The Balanced Life, 117 Kings Highway, right next door to Strawn's. Come see and feel the difference getting your life in balance can be. Many of your friends and neighbors have already learned the difference less stress and pain mean in their lives. You can book a discovery session right now online, thebalancedlife.us. All you've got to lose is stress, pain, or maybe both. Come see and feel for yourself the real difference balanced wellness makes. The Balanced Life Wellness Center, 117 Kings Highway in Shreveport, next door to Strawn's, thebalancedlife.us. And welcome in Welcome into Strategies for Living. Lauren Leon McMillan over there feeling guilty because she didn't say roof at Pintail Roofing.
Yeah, well, you're over there worrying to make sure we're recording. How about that?
Yeah.
But
So
yeah.
You're feeling guilty. I'm worrying.
Is it useless?
I don't know. I don't know. But I tell you what, some people would argue that worry and guilt are indeed useless emotions. We're going to dive into that.
Can become destructive.
Yeah.
I don't know about useless.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll talk about that.
Okay.
So what is worry?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What
What is worry?
I think most people will say that it is that constant turning over that we often happen when we get stuck in our head, turning over, and usually it's about some future story. It's about repeating a future story to ourselves.
Although
it could be a past story as well.
But I think for the most part, worry is about the future. And I think you're hitting on something that is extremely important here, Lauren.
Yeah.
Because, and when you look at this, let's look at the timeline here.
Okay.
Okay, so let's look at all of this. When we think about worry and guilt, more often than not, worry is about, it takes us into the future, right?
More often than not.
More often than not. Not all the time, not 100%, but more often it takes us into the future. Guilt, more often, takes us where? Into the past.
Oh, and perhaps it's the same energy.
Yeah, and they could well be, but the point is that they take us away, and we talk a lot about this on Strategies, the importance of staying in the present, right?
Yes.
And so both worry and guilt, what they have in common is they pull us away. They tend to pull us away from the present.
Yes.
Okay? So, now...
Well, actually, they're invitations away, but we take them. And
Sure.
in some way they can become addictions in the term of, okay, well, it's a way to escape my present sensation, my present
and
feelings.
there's a lot of people that really truly believe, if I worry about something, it gives me, it creates some kind of force field, if you will.
And I might propose exactly the opposite, because let me just propose this.
Okay.
Worry, perhaps, is a complete misuse of the imagination, right? Because more often than not, when we're worrying about worst case scenarios, what could go wrong, what could go bad, right? And I might ask you, okay, if that's not really what you want to happen, why are we using our imagination, which is the birthplace of creativity, which is then what brings forth our life and our experiences? Why are we using it that way?
Yeah.
To miscreate. I mean, that's often how worry is used.
Yeah. What,
it's either that or some form of control seeking, right? Okay,
right.
Well, if I can just think up all the situations, the scenarios that are possible,
then I think I've got more control of the situation.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But how many times, I would pose this to any and everybody listening to us, including you and me, right?
Yeah.
How many times have we spent an enormous amount of time worrying about something? Fill in the blank with anything. We've all done it.
Yep.
And then whatever it is we're worrying about has gotten here, and we worry so much about doesn't even materialize. It doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And so we say, "Oh my goodness, what's going on here?" So when you think about worry, let's talk about the cognitive cycle of worry.
Okay.
Because that's exactly what worry does. Worry creates this loop of thinking, but it's a loop of negative thinking more often than not.
Right. And what's interesting, before we get too far down, I want to go back. We're talking about the definition of worry, right? And if we take it back etymologically to what the word breaks down to, where it originally came from, right? Worry. It actually comes from to slay or to kill or injure by shaking the throat, like dogs do, right? They take the animal by the throat and they wring it, they shake it, right?
Yeah.
Or to strangle. And, that kind of sounds very accurate to the experience of worry, right? You feel this tightness, this strangling of your life force, yeah?
Yeah.
But what's even more interesting to me is that these were actually derivatives from the original, the original root for worry goes all the way back to wer, W-E-R,
Yeah.
which simply means to turn.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to turn or to bend. And that's all you're doing is you're turning something over and over again when you're in worry, right?
Right.
And you always have an option to turn a different way.
A different way. Yeah.
You can turn towards worry or turn towards another use of your imagination.
I think that again, you're underscoring some things that really make us think, and that's what we're supposed to be doing here. But when you do look at worry, I mean, you can't look at it without looking at the impact. I mean, in the United States, we have a problem. We have a lot of health problems.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a lot of problems cardiovascularly, right? We have a lot of problems with weight and weight gain.
Yes.
We have a lot of problems with autoimmune disorders.
Yeah.
Okay. I would suggest to us all that chronic worry that just we hang on to this loop of negative thinking.
Yes.
If we could define worry that way, that if you look at chronic worry, it creates a tremendous amount of issues and problems for our mental and physical health. Stress, anxiety.
Sure.
The emergency room doctors say, I don't have any statistics in front of me, but
Okay.
I've read them enough to know that emergency room doctors say that at least 50% of emergency room visits are the result of stress and anxiety.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah.
and some of the science perhaps behind that is the idea that your brain and your body truly don't understand the difference between reality and your imagination.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is we have studies that have shown, you put the person in the MRI and you look at their brain when they are shown a piece of pizza, right?
Right.
And certain areas of the brain light up.
Light up.
Right.
Yeah. The
And-
pizza part of the brain.
Perhaps, yeah, all of those different sensations
Yeah.
that are turning on for that person.
I have I have different parts of the brain that light up if you give me Johnny's or if you give me Pizza Hut.
Yeah, actually, you likely do. But then they then they have the person go in the MRI and just imagine the pizza.
Right.
Same parts of the brain light up.
Light up.
Right.
And you could have me imagine a Johnny's Pizza, and you could have me imagine a Pizza Hut pizza.
Right.
And you'd see, interestingly,
Yeah, you would actually.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
would see a different pattern
Yeah,
of things that light up, right?
Yeah.
And connections. But my point in saying that is, okay, if you're imagining a very stressful situation, your body and your brain responds as if it's truly happening in the moment.
yeah.
And so what you're
So
doing,
you bring yourself
yeah,
over and over and over in a
you are
loop,
creating that stress, over
creating
and
the
over.
stress that you're
Acti-
worried so much about.
Yeah, and you're activating that sympathetic nervous response, the fight, flight, or freeze,
Yep.
which just ups all the cortisol. So whether or not you're actually enduring those situations, quote unquote, in reality, you're bringing them upon yourself anyway, and your body is experiencing them as if you are.
Yeah.
And so that, would greatly contribute to health issues because you
Yeah.
are under stress when you're worried.
Absolutely. And when you think of how productive it is, the outcomes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Has worry ever, produced any positive outcome? Yeah. I mean, has
That's a good
worry?
question for all of
yeah.
us.
I mean, and
Yeah.
I don't have the answer to it, but I think it's an important
I
question.
can hear some people out there perhaps arguing that, okay, well, when I've worried, felt like I've been better prepared.
Okay.
And
that may be,
and if that's the case, I would say, okay, that's fine, but let's maybe put a limit or a cap on our worry.
Yeah, as long
set
as-
aside as long as it's within balance, right?
Yeah. In other words, with all emotions, are you managing them,
Right.
or are they managing you?
Yeah.
And,
That's a
that
good
would be a question that that I would put forth to all of us for consideration, right?
Right.
Now, when we look at guilt, we've looked at worry. What exactly is guilt? How could we define that? You know? And, you know, I know it's a pattern of thinking.
Yes.
You know? But how would we define that particular pattern? And to complicate it further, is there such a thing as healthy guilt versus unhealthy guilt? Because if we're talking about guilt, we really got to break those down, don't we?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of people, and especially myself included, talk about this. And this is always something that I'm gnawing on myself to find my truth in it. But I do see the idea of a healthy guilt, meaning that, okay, when I have truly hurt someone, healthy guilt says, is more of an empathic response.
Right.
That says, oh, I've hurt someone.
I need to go fix
and
that.
And I want to make a repair. I
Right.
want to repair that connection.
All right, as opposed to unhealthy guilt, which is perhaps taking on responsibility for things like, you know, or even moving into, instead of, I've done something that misses the mark.
Then it becomes shame when
Yeah,
you say, I am
something that misses the mark. Yeah. And that's where we can, when we talk about worry and we talk about guilt, that's where we can really step into the weeds, I think. You know, so that we can be aware, again, we're proposing the idea that some people say worry and guilt. Well, those are useless emotions. Well, maybe not entirely.
Not if you ask an Italian Catholic. Let me tell you
that's
that.
Very true. That's very true. But you know, they may have some redeeming qualities, but there's a couple of huge asterisks that we've got to put here, and they really involve management.
Yeah.
Are you managing them appropriately and in a healthy way? Or if you don't think about it and you just do it, do they manage you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are there useless emotions called worry and guilt? We are exploring that today on Strategies. We'll explore it more. And if you got a worry or a guilt problem, we may have some strategies for you. So hang around here on Strategies for Living. We'll be right back. You're going to see the difference. When you go to Azalea Cleaners, you'll hear about it too. Azalea Cleaners has been fine dry cleaning since 1958, plus laundry, alterations and repairs, comforters, wedding gown cleaning and restoration. You'll hear about it from your friends because they'll see it too. They'll notice the Azalea difference. Azalea is convenient. 732 Azalea Drive, 9220 Ellerby Road, and 9227 Mansfield Road. Plus, the front door of your home or business with Azalea's delivery on demand. Just text SETUP to 249-8283, and Azalea will pick up your clothes and deliver them back clean and fresh to you. You can't get closer than that. That's the Azalea difference. You'll notice it right away. Others will too. The Azalea difference. Fine dry cleaning since 1958. Text SETUP to 249-8283 and get the Azalea difference. AzaleaCleaners.com. And welcome back in. Welcome back into 1017 FM, 710 Keel. Welcome back into Strategies for Living. David McMillan here with psychotherapist Lauren Leon McMillan, PLPC. Useless emotions? I don't know. Some people say they are. I'm not sure that I buy into that entirely, but I think we are. They're emotions that you have to be very, very cautious with, very, very careful with. You got to manage them, or they will take over and manage you.
Right.
In a heartbeat.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't finish up on guilt. The origins of guilt are, I think, this is interesting.
Right.
Because we don't come out of the womb guilty.
Well, some
would say
some
we do.
would say we
Yeah,
do.
some would say.
I don't believe so.
No, I don't think so. If you observe the behavior of a 1-year-old, a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old, you can see a development of guilt if you really are looking for
Yes.
it. And so that perhaps tells us the origin of guilt is societal,
Right.
and family oriented, and we get to a point of understanding, once we understand language in our development, and we understand even the simple words like no,
Yeah.
bad boy, bad girl, which
You
I think,
don't.
again, we talk about this. Parents have to be very aware,
Yeah.
very careful, if you really want to do healthy parenting, because it's so easy to just do the family thing, right?
Right.
And to,
And that's,
you keep doing done for them and what
Right.
was done, but and
and in that experience is both, it's a double-edged sword.
yeah,
Right? I mean,
Yeah.
you can use it to continue the cutting down process,
yeah,
or you can actually use it to do something totally different,
yeah.
or do something a little different.
You were joking about Catholic guilt,
Yeah.
right? Because Catholics are known for the guilt thing. And I think, maybe some of that originates from the idea of original sin, right?
Right.
So the idea that, well, we're born with a stain.
You're born
and
guilty.
You're born guilty.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that, you need to be baptized to become a child of God. I mean, I'm really paraphrasing,
Right.
but I mean, in essence, that's what the teaching is, and that the pouring of the water, the sacrament, if you will, of baptism, removes the stain of original sin. All right, so there's a perfect example of societal familial, origins of guilt.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because, that very concept of quote unquote original sin, if you look at the generations and you think back, many teachings
Yeah.
are passed down from the great grandparents to the grandparents to the parents to the child, and we could keep going back.
Sure.
Right.
Right.
There you go. So where does that cycle stop?
It stops with the person who dares to question.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And we
And we often label them a black sheep, right?
oh yeah.
Big
oh
time.
yeah. Yeah. We often discourage the questions because they make us uncomfortable.
Right.
Because they
We've always done it this way. Why are you suddenly doing it a different way?
Right.
I mean, that's
Right.
It becomes so ingrained that it becomes the literal definition of right and wrong within a family or a society or a group, right?
yeah.
And yet we have to remember that there is no right or wrong.
Oh, you are on dangerous
I know,
ground
I
now.
understand. I
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah.
I know, but there are, we're just here for the experience.
Right.
And to
Right.
create our own values and to live in alignment with whatever those we deem and create those to be.
And, the neat thing is we're given some templates. We're
Right.
given societal templates. We're given family templates. We are given templates, big templates like the Ten Commandments I'm thinking about, right?
Right.
We have a choice. We can follow those. And a lot of people do. And ask us all to look and think about, well,
Is that truly in alignment with who you are and who you want to be? And
or
if
even
so, that's great.
or even bigger than that, has that truly created the world that we're that we're being called to create by masters like Jesus, who we call rightly the Christ, the anointed one of God? Well, are we living up to the challenges that
Right.
that life, that lived life, as a template for us, says, here's what you can do,
Here's what
right?
you can do, and
Here's-
ye are gods.
Yeah. There you go. And all of that stuff makes us all squirm.
Yeah.
Makes us all uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, because we truly are grand, powerful beings.
yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes I think we're actually afraid of our own power.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's part of it sometimes.
It could well be. You know, you can't say that guilt is completely useless, though, in my opinion, simply because of its role in personal development. Okay?
Yes, yeah.
So the fact of the matter is, and I'm talking now, I'm differentiating between healthy guilt and unhealthy guilt. Okay? Healthy guilt has the potential to motivate positive change.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
But it also action and
Yeah.
activity. So we have to be very careful.
And we
with
have to
it.
be imbalanced with it, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Which means we have to stay aware of it, which is why we're talking about it today.
It also reminds me kind of the fine line between self-consciousness. Both uses of the word, right?
Right.
Because, I mean, in essence, that's what we're talking about guilt in personal development. We're talking about if you're aware and if you're conscious of yourself, then you're able to say, hey, that's not working. Whatever behavior I'm engaging in is not really working for me or in alignment with my thoughts and my feelings. And so I'm going to shift and make a change, right?
Right.
And then there's also the fine line between that and self-consciousness that the general public often uses in terms of, feeling ashamed of yourself at some point because you've overly emphasized the negative, you've placed a negative judgment over that self-consciousness, the awareness of self. Does that make sense?
Makes total sense, yeah. So let's consider that, okay, we've started to grapple with worry. We've started to grapple with guilt here. We know that they're powerful.
Yes.
And we know that, that one can take us into and trap us, if you will,
Well, they both can.
I'm thinking about taking us away from the present. One can trap us more in the past. One can trap us more in the future.
Oh, okay.
So, guilt can trap us more in the past. Worry can trap us more into the future. And when we come away from and we give away our power,
to either the past or the present, future.
then we're robbing ourselves of the ability to act. So let's begin to do some strategizing, if you will.
Okay. Let's do it.
So one of the things that, and probably the most prevalent form of therapy practiced today is cognitive behavioral. Okay?
Yes.
So if we look at worry and guilt in a cognitive behavioral way, and basically what that means is
Cognitive means thinking, and
right.
behavioral means behavior.
Right.
So it's that wheel of thinking, behavior, and emotion.
Right. So the theory is, or the thought process is, it's not the things that happen to us that produce feelings. It's what we think about the things that happen to us that really produce the feelings. A simple example of that is I wake up and I look out the window and it's raining cats and dogs and I feel sad.
Right.
Then, you might say, well, rain causes sadness. No, because...
No, I looked at the window and I saw it raining and I got excited.
Right.
Because I don't have...
But in our own household, one can look out the window and see it raining and think, oh my gosh, I had a round of golf scheduled and now I'm not going to be able to go, right?
Yeah.
And I've been looking forward to this for a month, playing with these guys, and now it's ruined.
Yeah.
And you look out the window and say, yay,
Yeah, all my plants are watered. I'm going to go out and dance in it.
There you go. So it's clearly not the rain, the event, that causes the feeling.
Right.
It's what I think about the rain or event that causes the feeling.
It's the story I attach to it.
Right, and that's the power, if you will, that cognitive behavioral gives us, because if we understand that we've got the power to change our minds,
Change your thinking,
change your
life.
thinking, yeah, exactly. And that includes worry and guilt. Now, you can't really look at this fully until you look at something that we would call core beliefs. Okay?
Yeah.
So these are deep down beliefs, perhaps beliefs that got installed. They could have gotten installed in your family. They could have gotten installed, in your church. They could have gotten installed in a lot of different places, but they're core. I mean, think of core as central.
Yeah. But that also means that they're often buried deep under maybe some other beliefs that you might have even too.
Yeah.
So that comes with some excavating work,
And those kinds of deep beliefs, and they're there, but we have to use a little energy to get to them.
Yes.
To unearth them sometimes. But you've got to understand that those can fuel a lot of emotion about self-worth and self-value, which can keep us stuck.
Absolutely, yeah. Stuck in that loop.
Yep. And that's what we want to help all of us get out of, because we don't want to go into the loop of worry or the loop of guilt.
It's contractive.
Because when we start looping, that's when they get useless. That's when they manage
When you
us.
start looping, you get loopy, my friend.
You're on target there. Talking about worry and guilt today here on Strategies for Living. We'll be back. More to come, more to consider with some strategies.
Hi, this is Jay Merle for Pintail Roofing. Let's talk about quality. When you hire Pintail to build your roof, here's what you can expect. Quality and quality control are the most important concerns for us at Pintail, and you need to know that Pintail stands tall with swift and professional performance on any warranty call. This is our most important policy. And remember, we're your neighbors. We'll be here for you for the long haul. Our family's lived here for over 100 years, and we aren't going anywhere. On the commercial side of Pintail's business, our fluid-applied roofing solutions can save thousands of dollars over conventional commercial roofing options. Call Pintail at 226-ROOF for a free inspection of your home or commercial building. That's 226-7663. Pintail Roofing. What's the condition of your roof?
And welcome back. Welcome back into Strategies for Living. We do healthy. We do peace. We're about questing for a better life for all of us right here on Strategies for Living. And today we're talking about worry and guilt. Are they useless emotions? Yeah, maybe not entirely. But
I don't believe in such things.
But they certainly can be. I think
they can be destructive.
They are emotions we have to be extremely careful with. Okay, so we are Strategies for Living, so let's get into some strategies.
Okay.
All right, so first of all, let's just agree. We've been dancing around this, but let's go here.
Okay.
Guilt and worry, we're talking about them because they can be so destructive.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And they cause a lot of issues and a lot of problems in a lot of lives. And not only mental issues,
huge time
but
physical
issues. I mean, they can make us sick.
Literally, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
All right, so what are some strategies for overcoming worry and guilt? We talked about cognitive behavioral, right?
Right.
So there's something, Lauren, that is called cognitive restructuring, right? How would you explain that to us? What is cognitive restructuring?
It's a very fancy word.
Sounds fancy.
I think another
Sounds
name,
complicated.
I think another name that I like to use better than restructuring actually is reframing.
Okay.
Right. And it's the idea that, you put a different frame around something and it turns into something totally different. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. We've all probably, or at least most of us, might have an example looking at that old picture up on the wall, and it's gotten dingy, and we take it down and take it to the frame shop and say put a new frame around it and put a new matting on it, and we bring it home, and oh my goodness, it looks like a new, it looks like something new.
Right.
But it's the same old painting.
And it's
We've just reframed it.
Right, and it's the same idea, but with situations and events and emotions. And it's about just being able to shift your perspective a little bit, right?
Well, what we've got to do, though, is we've got to be able to tune in enough to the beliefs that are operating within us so that we can challenge the ones that need to be challenged.
Yes.
And then the ones that we pick out that we say, okay, those are really causing me to worry unnecessarily.
Right. I mean, and one of those I think that a lot of people might have that induces this worry cycle is the whole, oh, well, if it's not one thing, it's another.
Yeah.
I've heard that one a lot.
Right.
Right? Or, oh, the old, when's the next shoe going to drop? Okay.
Yeah. The idea is based on, we were talking about core beliefs a moment ago.
Yes.
So that idea is based on the core belief that life should be justice. Okay? And that's just not true.
No.
Because we've got to look at that, because life is not, I mean, we quest for it, but is there anything fair about a hurricane coming through and destroying property? Is there anything fair about a tornado coming through? Is there anything fair about a fire destroying a home?
And what's wild about restructuring is you can get to this point where even when you are affected by those things, you can begin to still stay strong in the belief that instead of seeing life as happening to you, it's happening for you.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's just happening.
And right, it's just happening.
Yeah,
It doesn't
have an agenda.
No.
To get you, but it's a matter for any of us. But it's a matter of life isn't fair.
Right.
There was one of those TV lawyers that way back in the day said the fair only comes once a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and you know what? That kind of leads me into another good strategy for worry.
Yeah.
Right. And if we're in this cycle of worry, which I might suggest actually stems from a childhood of overstimulation, like where there's a lot of chaos, or even it doesn't have to be childhood, right? A past where you're used to this high level of stress, and it's almost like we're creatures of habit.
Right.
And so if there's not stress in our environment created around us, we've got to create it somehow within us.
Yeah, because we're not comfortable.
Right, we're not comfortable.
Yeah.
We're used to it.
Things don't seem right.
Right,
Yeah.
and so if you're stuck in that cycle, and you really want to change that, an easy way is to just like we do with people, and set within yourself, your relationship with yourself, a boundary, and say, okay, I can't quit this addiction to worry cold turkey, right? But I'm going to allow myself a certain period of time.
Yeah, which might call in another strategy, and we talk about mindfulness a lot.
Oh, yeah.
We could also talk about present moment awareness. Call yourself into the present. Be mindful. Tune in to the here and now, and it's important to try to stay as present as we can, as much of the time as we can. That way we don't let the past or the future dominate our thinking. Does that make sense?
Yes. And sometimes for me, I don't know what everybody else's experiences are, but I can get real trapped up there in the head, right?
Sure.
And so in order to calm myself down, we have lots of what we call grounding techniques, where you bring yourself into your senses. Just one that I like involves just one sense, and it's your hearing. And it's about allowing yourself to just tune into what you're hearing around you, all the sounds, but don't label it.
Right, just notice.
Just allow the sensations to play with your eardrums and see what that feels like. Don't say, oh, there's a dog barking and that's really annoying. Just experience what that echo feels like, that reverberation feels like inside you.
And you could actually do that with any of the
Oh,
senses.
anything.
Yeah.
If you're in the shower, do that with touch and the water hitting
Right.
your skin, right?
Another strategy, and I'll put a couple of them together here because I think they go together.
Okay.
Self-compassion and forgiveness. And I'm talking especially self-forgiveness. So...
Well, true forgiveness comes from your self-forgiveness.
Right. And so if we have to understand that, the primary relationship in our lives is the relationship that we have with ourselves.
Yes.
So if we want to have true compassion for other people, it's got to start with me. I've got to have compassion for myself. If I want to forgive other people, I've got to start with me.
Yeah.
I've got to be willing to forgive me. And so self-compassion and forgiveness can be extremely important strategies. A couple of others.
Okay.
You've touched on relaxation techniques.
Yes.
So those can be enormously valuable for bringing us back into the present, as can be journaling.
Oh, yep.
Yep.
Speaking to the choir here. It's just a way it slows down your thoughts and makes you look at what you're doing. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, also, being willing to, when we're goal setting, make sure that they are realistic. That we talk about SMART goals. The R is realistic.
Right.
In SMART goals. Make sure that your goals are realistic for you. Talking about guilt and talking about worry today on Strategies for Living, because the more we talk about making healthy choices, the more we can do it. And that's what we do here daily on Strategies for Living. And we'll be back. More to come. Hey, let's talk about the Robinson Film Center. I say it a lot. There's no place like the Robinson.
Absolutely, there is not.
617 Texas Street, downtown Shreveport. You've got so much. You got the movies. You got Abby Singer's Bistro on the second floor of RFC, open for lunch and dinner Tuesday through Saturday.
Newly remodeled.
Absolutely. Great menu. RobinsonFilmCenter.org is the way you check it all out. You can go to RobinsonFilmCenter.org at any time and find out what movies are showing. Here's the deal. You want to join the crowd, join the fun, become a member. When you become a member, you become a star. You get discounts on movies, you get concession upgrades, you get bistro deals. RFC, 617 Texas Street in downtown Shreveport. I'll say it again. There's no place like the Robinson.
There is not, and I'm glad we have one right here.
Absolutely. The RobinsonFilmCenter.org.
Reading begins not in the classroom, but in your child's brain. I'm Donisa Walker with LearningRx Shreveport. If your child struggles to read, maybe he or she has trouble focusing or comprehending, LearningRx Shreveport offers a science solution to reading problems, working one-on-one with your child, targeting his or her reading skills. Today, call LearningRx Shreveport. Make an appointment to have your child assessed. I know you want to help your child, so does LearningRx Shreveport.
And welcome back. Welcome back into 1017 FM, 710 Keel. Welcome back into Strategies for Living. Lauren Leon McMillan, David McMillan, talking today about worry and about guilt, because those are things that trip us up. So I would ask all of us to consider, the things that we've talked about this evening, the nature of guilt and worry. How do they impact your life? And, are they managing you right now? Or, can you use some of the things that we've talked about today to begin to manage them? Because there are no useless emotions, as it turns out.
No.
But there can be abused. We can abuse ourselves with emotions. And worry and guilt are potentially two of those emotions that we can use to just beat the living daylights out of ourselves, right?
I'm telling you, yeah.
And so, again, that's why we spend time talking about stuff like this, because, we can't change anything that we're not aware of. And so
That's it.
if you can bring it into awareness,
And as soon as you're aware of it, right, celebrate.
yeah,
Because you are a step farther down the line.
and you've empowered yourself.
Yep.
Once you are aware of it, you now have a tremendous amount of power in that moment that you didn't have before.
Right. Suddenly you can say, oh, is this what I really want to do or
Yes.
be?
Yep.
And if so, sure, keep on keeping
going.
on. If
and
not,
if it's not working for
do
you,
something different.
and especially if it's impacting your mental, physical health, or relationship health, you can, you can do something about that.
yes, you can.
Lauren, thank you.
Thank you.
Folks, thank you for tuning into Strategies for Living. We do this each and every day for you because we take growth serious here on Strategies for Living, and we appreciate our sponsors making it possible to bring the show to you. The Robinson Film Center and Azalea Cleaners and Learning RX and Pintail Roofing.
Roof. I got to double it.
Yeah. Don't want to be guilty. And the Balanced Life Wellness Center. If today were the last day of your life, you only had one more phone call that you could make, who would you call? And what would you say? And why are you waiting? Make the call. For Lauren Leon McMillan, I'm David McMillan. See you next time right here on Strategies for Living.